Anyone else wants to comment on the amendment made by Mr. Duff? Anyone else? Oh, wait, Dr. Fan here wants to speak.
I'd like to ask...
give your name and address and speak into the mic, please.
Bob Fan, KB Avenue, Bethel. I want to ask a question of Marty. Marty, you and Billy have had a lot of talk back and forth about the wording of this, didn't you? Right.
Great deal.
And who constructed the words compel and urge? Did you?
I think what happened was, it was after a lot of discussion. Bill had told me that he didn't like the original words that were there. He wanted something stronger. So those are the words that I used.
So you used these words?
I used these words after he approved them, and we made, to be honest with you, there were 3 or 4 drafts of this particular petition.
So you approved of compel and urge?
I approved the compel and urge, but, you want me to answer it fully?
Okay. The first thing I'd like to say is, from day one, when Mr. Michael approached me regarding the petition, it was very clear. I told him then, and I said it several times afterwards, that this town meeting did not have the authority to actually pass the ordinance. All right, I made that very clear. There was an email that I sent to him, not an email, I'm sorry, in July when this started. There was a fax that I sent to him, and one of the statements in the fax was, and I have it here in quotes, I'd like to caution you that if an ordinance pertaining to your petition was passed by the Board of Selectmen, it would not apply to expenditures of the Board of Education. I also, in September, when we did the third draft, I sent it on to the town clerk, along with a lengthy email outlining in the email exactly what was to be done with the petition. And I asked that it be passed on to Mr. Michael, and it was in fact passed on to Mr. Michael, according to the town clerk. And what it said in there, one of the reasons why I did it was, I've got it, and I have it in quotes here, so there was no misunderstandings. And what it said, the very last comment in my email, number 4, states, the special town meeting does not have the authority to create the ordinance under the charter, or the Board of Selectmen can create such an ordinance. Thus, if passed by the special town meeting, this would be a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, which they can act on or not.
Thank you. I wanted that to be clear to everybody, that there was a lot of discussion back and forth to try to get it right. And, I led the fight to get the 10% property tax reduction for veterans, and we did have to go through the Board of Selectmen. I fully understand that. And then that has to go to a vote of a town meeting, correct?
Yeah, would you address...
Once you
Dr. Fan, you got to go through the chair.
All right, moderator. Once the Board of Selectmen vote to approve an ordinance, doesn't it have to be voted on by the town, or is it published and becomes law after 90 days?
An ordinance by the Selectmen, I think it's after 30 days it becomes law, unless it's petitioned by townspeople to have it overturned.
Okay, so I want everybody to be clear about the process here. Also, I read an email that said that the e-newsletter would be affected, but this doesn't affect the e-newspaper, e-news at all, because it only instructs the Board of Selectmen to do a comparable mailing, or mailing about notifying about a referendum if somebody else does it. It doesn't eliminate that. So I hope everybody from the school board realizes, in the spirit of fairness, allow this to go through. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on the amendment made by Mr. Duff? Yes.
Cynthia McCorkindale, 19 Elgin Avenue. I have a couple of questions to Mr. Lawler.
Okay, go ahead, through the chair.
I was present at the meeting on October 12th when the draft was finalized. We walked away with a complete petition. Everyone who signed the petition signed language that said compel and urge. Did you file anything after that with the town clerk other than what you sent as a draft in July or whenever that email that you referenced?
Would you hand him the mic so he can, everyone else can hear his reply?
No, I didn't present anything in the email at that time. I have a copy of the email, if you'd like to see it here, that I did send. And what it was sent on September 27th. It was addressed to Lisa Berg. And I said, attaches what I presented to Bill Michael, which I have approved. I would appreciate if you could provide him with a copy of his email so there's no misunderstandings. And then it says the circulator, number 1, talks about how it's to be circulated under the statute. Number 2 says about the required signatures. Number 3 talks about town funds being used. It does not apply to the Board of Education budget funds. And number 4 says that the special town meeting does not have authority to create the ordinance. And that was sent, and this was given to him. And it's a synopsis of what was going to take place. Now, what happened was, I'm not going to deny that it was changed afterwards, but what was changed afterwards, those words, compel and urge, were still in here at the time that this was sent on September 27th. The final version still had compel and urge, but this was still applicable.
I'm not disagreeing with the nature of it. I guess my question is, if a citizen comes to you to draft something or for help and that the town is billed for that time, what responsibility do you have to have the person leave with what they think they're circulating and what people are signing?
First thing is, I mentioned to Mr. Michael on several occasions that it was only going to be a recommendation. Now, I had other meetings with him when you weren't present, but the other thing that's important is I don't go and people don't come to me directly as town council to take care of these things. I was referred this matter by our town clerk because she's the one that ultimately is supposed to approve any and all petitions that have to be done. However, if she has a problem or she's not clear about it, that's when it gets referred to me. So it doesn't always come to me. Sometimes they're very simple things and she can take care of it and it's not a problem. That wasn't the case here.
So you're saying that if someone comes to you and asks for that and gets referred to you, that when they leave with their paper, it may or may not change?
No, that's not what happened.
Pass the mic back if he's going to answer.
No, it's fine. I just really want to know.
That's not what happened. What happened was, on September 27th, when I presented what I thought was a petition at the time to Mr. Michael and to the town clerk, she handed him this with the instructions about how the petition was to be handled. He did not like the language that was in it. He wanted additional language. That language of compel and urge was already in there. What we changed is some other things. And there was nothing wrong with that. So in other words, it was already there. That didn't change.
Okay, this is just going to be my final question. Then why was, when it was published in the paper, were the words changed to recommend and encourage?
For clarity, you're saying that when the legal notice was changed in the paper?
Yes.
All right,
The legal notice was published with wording that was not in the petition.
I kind of anticipated that question, so I have a little language that I wrote down. I want this to be very clear because one of the things I want to let you know is I don't always do all of the petitions. I don't always do the motion. But my job is to help and review and establish the warning of the town meeting. Very rarely does the town meeting warning end up being exactly as it was originally proposed, either by a motion through the Board of Selectmen and or if it's a funding situation through the Board of Finance. What happens is I look at it in two respects. It has to be legally sufficient, meaning the language has to be such that if you have to add, subtract, or set forth in different terms to allow what the intention of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance hope to accomplish. Second, it's got to be stated in such language that the public, when reviewing the warning and listening to the motion, knows as clearly as possible what the purpose and the intent of the meeting is. In this case, I did not take the language of the petition verbatim because I felt it should be made clear to this body, all right, that the only authority that had in the town of Bethel to create an ordinance was the Board of Selectmen. So it's done all the time.
Do you have any more?
No.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak on the amendment by Mr. Duff to include the words compel and urge?